Have you heard the story of Britain's last witch? I've just caught up on the latest series of Paranormal, which focuses on the life of Helen Duncan. If you want to go and watch it yourself, please stop listening now and scroll on because I am going to talk about it. Helen Duncan was a Scottish medium, and when she was growing up as a child, it said that she was able to make predictions and would say strange things that would make the people around her family feel quite uneasy. As she grew up, she developed her mediumship skills, and it said that she was actually able to bring the spirits of deceased people into a room during her seances. Now, the reason Helen has been referred to in this story as Britain's last witch is not actually because she was a witch, but because she was the last person to be tried under the Witchcraft Act. And what is horrendously shocking about that is that it was as recent as 1944. Helen wasn't tried for being a witch, she was actually tried for being a pretender or a fraud. Now, what fascinated me in this program is that there was information that made it very hard to entirely decide which side I came down on. Was she a fraud, or was she genuinely capable of speaking to deceased spirits? There was information given that you think, oh, she's obviously heard that somewhere and repeated it. But then later in the show, there's some information given which she couldn't possibly have known. And then you have to question why the government is interested in someone if she doesn't really have any power. Now, bearing in mind her seances were going ahead during wartime, obviously there was a need for certain types of information to be kept secret. And during one of the seances, Helen gave some information that shouldn't have been out there publicly. This is why people believe that maybe the government started to keep an eye on her, and also this may be why her case was taken to court over one person's report when she had about 40 odd people confirming that she could actually speak to spirits and that they had even seen their relatives appear before them. Now, people had tried to find evidence of Helen being a fraud. They thought perhaps she was hiding cheesecloth on her body folded up really small so that when she went into the trance she could appear to be producing ectoplasm, and it was actually this cloth that she had hidden somewhere and maybe regurgitated to make it look as if the spirit had come into the room. However, every single time she was searched, nobody found anything. Now, Helen actually went to prison for 9 months, and when she came out of prison, it said that she wasn't initially going to continue any work with spirit. However, the pull and the call of spirit eventually became so strong she started up her seances again. In 1956, which is quite some time after she'd been released from jail, she was raided yet again by the police. Now, during this raid, when they searched her, they were not gentle with Helen. They were absolutely atrocious towards her, and she ended up in hospital. What's interesting is it said that she had burn marks on her body, which there is a belief that when a medium produces ectoplasm, if a light suddenly hits that ectoplasm, it will go back into a medium's body and it will cause damage and harm. That is what the burn marks were suspected to be, unless they are inflicted by the police. That would be very strange though, and there would have been witnesses to that. So don't know where they came from. Helen unfortunately passed away just 5 weeks after that raid, and she'd gone into hospital following it. So something sits very uneasily there, I feel. Now, there was a piece in one of the episodes where Sian, the presenter, actually got to talk to the witches of Scotland. So that was very interesting to hear their take on it. Having looked at all the information provided in the show, I would say that in the last episode, that shoved me over to the side of believer because of the information given that she couldn't possibly have known and that was reported by someone very high up within the government, and the fact that the government were interested in her at all, because surely if somebody was a fraud they wouldn't really care that much. It's one thing for sort of local police level to deal with scammers and fraudsters, but other departments within the government, I'm not so sure they would have been interested if they thought she had no ability there. I found it absolutely fascinating. I think it was horrendous, the fact that it was so recent, but what a fascinating woman. I would be very interested to hear your views if you end up watching it. But yeah, I just thought I'd pop on here and have a bit of a chat about it. Have a great day.